Welcome, everyone. You have reached another Local Maximum. This is episode 76, joined by my co-host, Aaron, as usual today. Aaron, how you doing?
Good evening, good morning, good whatever time it is, wherever you're watching and listening.
Well, by the time we're recording this a little bit early, about a week early, because by the time this goes out on my podcast feed, I am going to be in Lviv, Ukraine. And so I don't know what time it'll be when it goes out for me. I will try to make sure the thing goes out at the right time, the right time frame, at the right time zone. So you will get your recording Monday night as usual. What's the date that this goes out Monday night? It's going to be 6 days from today, which will end up the
22nd?
Yes, July 22nd. This goes out. It's actually going to be the day after an election in the Ukraine. I told that could be a little bit dicey, but we'll see what happens there. I'm actually there to teach a course on Bayesian thinking for applied learning at Ukraine Catholic University. So they have like a little summer school, data science summer school. And I've been told that like 40 people signed up for my class. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, into the double digits. And
it's a 9 hour, I have 9 hours of instruction to do. So hopefully I get that right. Any advice for me there? They want me to make slides, but I'm like 9 hours of slides. I think I'm just going to do some of this the old fashioned way, notes and
I don't know what the rule of thumb is when you're talking about some of the more advanced kind of machine learning topics, but
well, I don't think
someone
it's
at some point told me that it was, what no more than one slide a minute. But at 9 hours, that's still a lot of slides.
That's going to be way too many slides.
Well, yeah,
I hate making
the more
slides.
Complex the slide, the longer you can have it up while you talk about it.
Yeah, no, I just like topics and then talk about the topic. Some of the topics are going to be the ones that we talk about here on the show: Bayesian inference, the theoretical, like the philosophical underpinnings of probability to help you understand how to solve those problems. That's all really interesting. And then something else is going on today, which I announced on the podcast last time. But this week, I am back at Foursquare, and I didn't think that was going to happen. But hey, it happened. And so I
thought you were out, but they pulled you back in. It's
is that from
all over again?
That's from Godfather?
I believe so. It's been a while since I've rewatched any of it.
Yeah. All right. I tried to put my job description on LinkedIn. Why don't I read that and see if we can critique it. Joining the Foursquare Labs team with some great engineers and the executive chairman to build fun and amazing products on top of Foursquare's tech for all of you to enjoy as you move about the world. The focus will be on product research and rapid prototyping. I will also be doing internal consulting and training on Foursquare's machine learning and statistical solutions throughout the tech and product stack. So I don't know how this is going to go, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So at least that'll be in there. And great. Hopefully every few weeks I'll have like a new product launch that I can announce here on the Local Maximum saying, hey, this is available now.
Well, that's exciting, and I look forward to continuing to be a beta tester for some of these things.
Well, we might do some more Mars.
I got it on the ground floor for MarsBot, so that was exciting back in the day. I can't believe it's been that long. Yeah,
it's 2 years. Whatever I do, it always comes back in 2 years as like a good thing, but nobody likes it at the time. Well, people like MarsBot, but all these things are like a tough sell for the company. It's always tough. When you're not, the company's like, okay, we'll put a few people in R&D, but we don't really have an idea of what our return on investment is. And it's always concerning when you get the feeling that they might thank you in a few years, but while you're going through it, they're not really, you don't get any support. But we'll see. It seems like, Foursquare is really at the forefront of some of the product R&D now, or hopes to be. So I hope to move that forward, and maybe we'll make some decisions to try to build a better internet than the one we have now with all your apps driving you crazy. Hopefully, we'll have your apps making you smiling and giving you good value.
I guess a better internet isn't quite the dirty buzzword. A new internet is definitely the dirty buzzword, but I feel like that's from a couple of years ago and Silicon Valley.
Yeah, that hasn't been on the air for a little while, but I don't think we're building a new internet, just new applications. anyway.
Before we move on, can we take a step
Yeah.
back to something you mentioned earlier? So when you're in Ukraine,
Yeah.
I guess I got two questions. One is, will they be providing you with a translator, or is the expectation that everyone there is
No.
functionally fluent in English?
It's an English language course. I'll put the course
that helps.
up. Yeah, and it's called Bayesian Thinking for Applied Machine Learning. I'm going to do an intro to Bayes' role and its history in solving problems. In fact, maybe I'll turn that into a show. Conjugate priors, that might be tough to turn into a show. Markov chain Monte Carlo, we did a show on that, episode 4, but we could revisit that. Monte Carlo is always fun. It's like moving around randomly until you find the solution. I mean, that sounds really bad. It's better than that, but still, it's based on that. So, and today we're actually going to talk a little bit about I guess a machine learning product called Word2Vec that Google came out with. It's one of the positive things we're saying about Google today. And we're going to talk about how that's used in making scientific discoveries. So we'll get to that at the end of the program. To start the program, we're going to talk a little bit about a lot of Bitcoin's been in the news still. And then Google and all their shenanigans in terms of their,
such a fun word, shenanigans.
I love that term because it makes it think like, oh, they're like lots of people, they're getting into trouble when really it's just a bunch of people sitting in front of a screen. But I mean, getting into trouble in like a funny comedic way, like it would be fun to watch.
So someone's going to get a pie in the face.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think that's happening. But hey, are they trying to influence the election? That's an interesting topic of discussion. So first, thank you for listening to the Jeff Tucker episode today. You told me that you listened to it a little bit, right?
I did, yes.
Yeah, and a lot of people out there listened to it because today was the highest downloaded day of the local maximum. Again, we keep hitting records. Like every few weeks, we hit another record. And so I'm glad that people are seeing the value in what we do here and trying to give people different perspectives. I know, someone like Jeffrey Tucker, he's often talking to, the political philosophy folks, but I tried to steer it in the direction of kind of innovators and product makers and try to see what he had to say about that. So I thought that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, there's a lot of they may be short edges, but shared edges between those spaces.
Yeah. And so one thing that he said really stuck out when looking at the news today, which was he said, when Bitcoin was created, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he basically said, when Bitcoin was created, we have to admit that we don't really know what money is before the creation of Bitcoin. And now a lot of people say, okay, now we see Bitcoin, and then we turn around and say, okay, now I definitely know what money is. When you're kind of, well, let's talk about it in Bayesian terms. When you're really sure about something, but then you see some strong evidence of something else, then your standard deviation should get blown out, and you're like, I don't really know the answer here. I'm less certain about it. So no, that's a good point. I don't think that anyone would have guessed. I mean, Bitcoin was supposed to be peer-to-peer cash, but it's turned into, yes, it could be peer-to-peer cash, but primarily digital gold right now. And if you think about it, yeah, it should be a good store of value before, like when two people are exchanging, the technical problem of how do we do the exchange using our technology, whether it's our watch or our phone or our computer, that's a totally different problem than what denomination you're changing. And so Bitcoin is an entirely different denomination. And so it's interesting to note that that's one thing I really agreed with him on and took to heart. Like, yeah, you got to be very humble in this space, because that sort of matches my own expectations in not being very good at predicting what's going on in this space.
Well, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit and
go for it
and throw out a Trump quote here. Right? I guess this is a quote of a tweet from the Business Insider article. But
so it should be pointed out here. This is the first time the president of the United States has weighed in on cryptocurrencies.
And he said, quote, "I am not a fan of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, which are not money and whose value is highly volatile and based on thin air." My response to which is, and what is the US dollar based on?
Yeah,
because it's not based on the gold standard or any fungible assets. It's based on a promise that will pay debts. And
I'll tell you what they say. They say first it's backed by a country which has an army, and second they'll say
that takes you down a road that gets real ugly real fast.
Well, let me tell you, like we had, well, in the U.S. history, and there are other countries have similar histories. We had hyperinflation during the Revolutionary War. We had the Continental dollar, and that didn't go very well for them. People lost their savings there.
There was a similar problem during the Civil War with both governments printing endless currency to fund the war effort.
Right, and I believe it was Hamilton put us on the gold standard after to prevent that.
When did war bonds become a thing? Was that around during the Civil War, or was that more of a World War I invention?
I don't know.
I've taken us way off topic. Sorry.
Yeah. I want to say World War I.
Back to inflation.
Yeah. Well, right. Another point they'll make is that, well, the dollar is backed by the fact that you can pay taxes in dollars, but that's not really true, because there's no guarantee of how many dollars you're going to need to pay your taxes. So it'd be one thing if the government says, okay, you own this land, right? $1,000 is guaranteed to pay your taxes every year. It's like, no, we're not going to tell you how much taxes are good. Like, the tax on this property could be something totally different in 10 years, and it could be many more dollars. So it's not really the greatest argument, but it does have going for it is network effects and the fact that other world currencies are worse. So it'll be interesting to see whether crypto goes after the dollar first, or whether it starts eating up some of these other world currencies that are not as good.
I will not be the first, and certainly not the last, to point out that Trump is not an economist, and he is certainly not a monetary policy expert. So I feel that he has very little leg to stand on to comment on the place that Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies have in our economic model. But that's never stopped him before.
Big brain, low interest rates. He's also very good on trade, the best on trade. So that didn't come out of nowhere, which is really interesting. It's certainly, I mean, he was definitely directing his attack there at Facebook's cryptocurrency, and so
which I think is fair, but not. I wouldn't make this. I would criticize them, but from a different tack. But to bring it back to what Jeffrey Tucker was saying, that this whole we apparently we didn't know what money is, but do we now know? And I think we know, and we still don't know what old money is, and certainly not what this new dimension of money is. And if we're fooling ourselves if we try to answer that in the affirmative. Right.
And we can come up with some ideas. Like, I have the idea that, okay, Bitcoin is finite in value, unlike any other hard resource like gold, even though gold is the closest to finite you're going to get when it comes to materials.
It is finite in the way that any natural resource is.
But more so. Right.
Gold, I mean, yes.
Yeah. Gold is, because it's very difficult to extract. And so
it's in the same category as oil or phosphorus or lithium or any of those kind of mineral type resources. Except
a lot of that stuff, you can take it out of the ground really easily, but then it gets used up. Whereas gold, you can take it out of the ground it's much more difficult. And once it's out of the ground, it stays in the hands, like it doesn't decay or anything like that. So really the global supply of gold is actually pretty stable, which is why it's the best money. But now we have forms of money, and Bitcoin isn't the only one, it's just the biggest one, where it's actually, actually limited. Like, we know how much there is, and there'll never be any more.
And how much there'll ever be.
Yeah, and so is that where we're going in terms of the direction of hard objective money? That's one of my hypotheses that I put some good prior juice on, some good some good background. But I'm not gonna say I know what money is, but that's sort of that's one theory, that I sort of follow. But yeah, it's really fascinating. If Bitcoin is the emerging global standard, this is exactly how it would happen. It starts in fits and starts, and at first it's all scammy.
Or even to generalize a little bit more, not
Yeah.
necessarily Bitcoin, but
Right.
some type of cryptocurrency.
Right.
And now have they come up with a new name for it? Because cryptocurrency, I know the crypto part. We've talked in the past about cryptocurrency and crypto Jews and crypto this and crypto that. That there's an implication that comes with the use of the prefix crypto, which I feel like the currency should move beyond. But I haven't heard an alternate convention for that.
It sounds like secret currency almost.
Yeah, which is that's an element of it, but certainly not the defining element. I think because there's and this is mostly beyond my understanding, but there's public coins and private coins and security coins, and they all fall under this cryptocurrency umbrella.
Hold on, I realize I have to turn off my AC. Forgot to do that. That's going to be...
Oh, you're going to have fun fixing that in post.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Crypto means... crypto means secret. And but it's not secret money. It's money based on secrets, which is...
That doesn't sound much better.
Yeah, no. Okay, based on...
But it's also the most transparent money.
Yeah. In some ways.
So let's bring that back. You mentioned before that part of the reason...
certainly more transparent in terms of monetary policy.
Yeah. You're saying part of the reason that this came up, what you think prompted Trump to break his lifelong silence on cryptocurrency, is the advent of the Facebook coin, it's not a Facebook coin, but it is a cryptocurrency with significant backing from the Facebook corporation.
And it hasn't been the advent yet. It's just proposed, which I think there's a good chance this doesn't get off the ground at all. It's so hard. Look, the fact that it's being attacked left and right, it's so easy for these big companies to kind of get deterred into doing something else, that it just seems like this is not going to work. And even if, like, you can't just say, okay, Facebook has all these users, so they're going to get all these users using Libra. No, they have a good channel to get people to use it from, but they're still starting from scratch, and it's not going to be that easy. And if they advertise it on their platform, they're giving up something else. Like, they're giving up advertising space that they could be used to be making money elsewhere. They still calculate it that way. So it's almost like a startup within. It's a lot harder than people think. And I talked about that with Miriam in episode at 72, I think.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest things to caveat is I've seen numerous mentions of, this is an opportunity to provide a means of exchange to the unbanked. Yeah. And I call shenanigans. I'm gonna keep it PG-13. Right. I think that rationale is absolutely, you can make a case for it, and it is completely hollow. It's a shell inside. There's no way that that's the motivation, and I would be flabbergasted if that's actually the result of this, assuming it does get off the ground.
Yeah,
it's that I think they see an opportunity to make not a cash grab, but almost a real estate, a market space grab here, that they want in on the coin thing. And they think that by being the 800-pound gorilla in the room, they can prevent some other large cryptocurrency from becoming the de facto mainstream version by inserting themselves there. And even if it dies on the vine, that by being there and sucking the air out of the room, they prevent somebody else from taking it and running with it. Yeah.
So if you look at, like, Bitcoin's market cap is $167 billion. That's a lot even for Facebook. And the idea that they're just going to come and swoop in on that is, it's not going to be that easy. Now, just because Trump tweeted it, he said he's not a fan, but it doesn't seem like he is fanatically opposed to it in terms of, like, we have to ban it or whatever. In fact, his Treasury Secretary Mnuchin came out recently and said, hey, you can invest in this, just don't do, like, illegal stuff with it. So we thought that was interesting. And then Kevin McCarthy, who is the minority leader in the U.S. House of Representatives, he said, "I like Bitcoin." So, wow, I mean, you have some political leaders accepting it. Do you know how long? 5 years people have been telling me, "Oh, this is going to totally be banned," and it hasn't happened. Like people were like,
oh. to be fair, there are countries where it has been banned.
Yeah, but none to the effect. Which is there a country where it's like enforced really vigorously?
Well, I mean, how would you enforce it? But
Yeah,
my understanding is that India passed something that's fairly restrictive.
Yeah, but it hasn't.
And India is 1 billion people. That's what 1/7, 1/6 of the world market, right there.
Yeah, but it hasn't been banned in the United States, and I bet they use it plenty in India. So talking about the difficulty of banning this technology, you found an article on sending value, sending Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies to each other via radio. Tell me a little bit about that. Uh-oh, you're frozen. All right, well, we will wait for Aaron to get back online. Hopefully he will come back in a minute, or I will go offline. Let me see what happened. Frozen. All right, he dropped, folks. This part of the show is not going to be in the... Oh, he's back. You're back. Thank you for coming back to the live feed. All right, so where did you drop out?
After India, and I don't remember where we went from there.
All right, so I was talking about how, yes, this stuff is very difficult to ban, and you found an article about how Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies can be sent. You could send value to people just through radio, and people are actually doing this. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so this is for starters, Bitcoin is not simple, or cryptocurrency in general is not simple, and this is like a level beyond that in complexity of getting geared up and using, but very relevant, I think, to some of the cases we were talking about using.
Oh no, we lost the feed again. All right, we're gonna wait for him to come back on one more time, and then we'll close out the feed, I guess, if that doesn't work. All right, you're back. Let's try it again.
You're very stuttery coming through.
Hello. All right. How about now?
Now I'm getting something. Okay.
Okay, good. We'll try this one more time. We could stop the feed if we have a bad connection today. Yes, try it one more time.
So I was saying the Bitcoin radio.
Yeah.
It's very relevant, I think, to some of the cases we've discussed in the past about using cryptocurrency, for example, in Venezuela or perhaps in Cuba, or anywhere that you have that you have unreliable connectivity and maybe even unreliable power grid, or you don't trust the networks that you're on.
Yeah.
Then these are methods using satellite connections and ham radio that they are verifying and relaying elements of the blockchain beyond your internet service provider. So this could be very useful, particularly in those places where maybe the government is trying to crack down and prevent the use of this. And granted, it's not without risk in that kind of a scenario. They can still try and hunt you down for doing this, but it's a lot harder to stop than simply flipping a switch on the local ISP.
Yeah.
Or putting some sort of DNS block on there.
So let me explain something about these Bitcoin transactions. When I want to transact with you, I digitally sign a transaction. Let's not go into how that works, but basically I come up with a bunch of data and I want to broadcast it widely. And It doesn't matter if it doesn't matter if everyone in the world sees it. It's secure. It's like an encrypted message, and it basically says, "Hey, I give you this value, and I have proof that I signed it." And so that's actually turns out to be not that much data. One thing that Andreas Antonopoulos points out is that you can send value. Are you out again? All right, folks. You know what? We're going to get the rest of the show on. Go make sure that you. Hey, Aaron, are you there? Hello? Hello? All right, he's out.
Oh, I can hear you now. Yeah, you cut out for a minute there. Nope, I'm here.
So go to low. Oh, we're live again.